It's been a long time coming, but the Greenskins Rework is finally here. And with it comes big changes to how the WAGH mechanic works in both campaign and in battle. And we're going to take a look at both of those aspects and how they work now. We'll also be taking a look at the campaign exclusive WAGH units that you'll be able to get in your WAGH armies. These are part of the rework and not the DLC units. I'm not allowed to show you those yet. So, here we go. So the Greenskins campaign WAGH, as you know it now, works by building up fightiness so you can eventually get yourself a WAGH army. Well, that whole system is gone. Completely gone, thank God. Replaced by a far superior system, which all begins with this bar at the top of the screen. It has different segments that you'll go through as you build your WAGH, potentially improving your faction in both campaign and battle, with effects on growth, obedience, leadership and recruitment cost, whether that be positive or negative. Now, how do we fill this bar? Well, we're going to need reputation, or WAGH points if you like. You'll be passively getting one of these per turn, so the bar will always be building and can never go down, unlike goddamn fightiness. You'll also get reputation from fighting and winning battles, especially against the odds. You'll get more reputation if you beat the odds rather than looking for those easy wins. And when you raise settlements, you'll also be able to get a nice chunk there too. So those will be the main two things you'll be doing to build up this WAGH bar, which forces you to keep fighting and to keep going around and raising and being like a greenskin should be. You can also gain a nice chunk to start with if you have a successful WAGH beforehand. And then finally, once you've cropped enough gits, you will be ready to WAGH. You will have worked your way through the bar until the skull at the end is highlighted and ready to be activated so you can call the WAGH. Once this is done, you'll need to select a target. That's right, we need a WAGH target, someone to take out. In this case, I'm going for Karaz-a-Karak. Now, on all settlements, you'll see this little icon appear, which indicates the faction's strength. You can see Karaz-a-Karak is number 2. They're the second strongest faction going right now. If we look at some other factions, Karak-az-Ghul here, they're only 27, so they're not so strong. Somebody over here is 103, so depending on the strength of the faction that you try to take out, that'll determine what reward you get. Obviously, the stronger the faction, the better the reward. And rewards are flavoured to different factions. So we're going with the number 2 Karaz-a-Karak. We now get the choice of dedicating our WAGH to Mork or Gork. If you dedicate to Mork, you'll get more missile strength for your army, and if you dedicate to Gork, you'll get more melee strength for your army. Now that is entirely up to you, and as we can see now, Karaz-a-Karak now glows green, highlighting the capital that we need to take out, and the capital is always the goal. And we've got 20 turns to do this. That's how long this WAGH is going to last. And you can see the reward that we'll get if we're successful at taking Karaz-a-Karak. Now, as for the WAGH armies themselves, they're no longer AI controlled, thank God. They will be part of your current existing armies. You'll get a little WAGH tab, which will have about 5 units in it to start with, adding more with every turn. So it'll take 3 or 4 turns to fill up the army, but it depends on the size of your current army. If you've got 10 units in the main army, you'll get 10 WAGH units. If you've got a full 20 stack, you'll get a full 20 stack WAGH army. And the units will be randomly chosen. You can see I've got a couple of Black Orcs in this one. That's because it's Grimgor's WAGH. When you play as different legendary lords, they get different units in their armies potentially. Mostly it's pretty basic, cheap units. Although I have had 3 Arachnarok spiders in one before. So yeah, you can get big ass freaking 40 stack armies so that you can go on an absolute rampage. And well, you can imagine the carnage. So you'll have your 20 turns to take the capital city of whoever your target is. In this case, Karaz-a-Karak, we've just done it. We've taken their precious mountain fortress. And you don't have to raise the settlement. You can take it if you want to and occupy it, which is what we're going to do in this case, because it is a nice stronghold to have. And with the success of our WAGH taking out our target, that means we'll get our rewards at the end of the WAGH duration. You can see it says here that we need to hold on to this target to receive our trophy. So we need to make sure the dwarfs don't come and take it back, basically, which shouldn't be a problem, as we're allowed to hold on to all of our WAGH units and our WAGH until the duration of the WAGH is over. So for Grimgor here, that basically means rampaging through whatever the dwarfs have left.
Well done, my lord. You have successfully completed your WAGH and claimed your trophy. Not only do rival war bosses gaze upon it with envy, but it will also boost the tribe until you claim your next trophy.
So once you keep a hold of that capital for the WAGH duration, it'll come to an end and you will finally get your trophy. And as you just heard, it gives you a nice chunk on the start of your next WAGH, making it that little bit quicker to get and prevents you from going into that red zone of the WAGH bar. Now just a few quick final notes. Firstly, War armies will be attached to all of your current armies. So if you've got 3 armies knocking around the map, you'll get 3 War armies to go with each of them. Now, while that sounds like a sweet deal, it can actually be a bit of a problem because War armies do cost upkeep to some degree. So it's not uncommon to find yourself going into the red once you get your War going. So you'll need to make sure you've got enough in the bank and or enough coming in to keep your War afloat. And another thing is that if you successfully complete a War, you'll get some recruitable War units for outside the War time, such as the Lava Arachnarok Spider, Feral Wyverns, or Feral Hydra. These will be limited though. So that is about it for the new campaign side of the War mechanic. Now let's take a look at the battle changes. Now when it comes to using your War in battle, the ability used to look like this. 30-second duration, 24% increase to speed, 18% increase to charge bonus, and 20 melee attack. Affects everybody map-wide, cooldown of 90 seconds. Well, that War is dead and replaced by the new War, which only lasts 18 seconds, so 12 seconds less than before, still map-wide, but gives plus 25% armor-piercing weapon damage, plus 24 melee attack, plus 25% base weapon damage, and an immunity to psychology. So much more about increasing the damage that all units will do. That immunity to psychology is pretty huge as well. That could make a big difference, giving them 18 seconds of not having to worry about fear or terror. But the one thing missing now is that there is no cooldown for this, because it's linked to a bar in the battle, which we will get to in a second. So that's the basic new War ability that will be used by non-legendary lords and in custom and multiplayer battles. In campaign, however, legendary lords will get their own unique War variations. Grimgor gets more armor piercing and base damage for his army. Skarsnik gets more armor piercing damage for his army. Wurzag gets plus 22 physical resistance for his entire army. And Azag gets spooky by making everyone cause fear and terror in his army, which is pretty damn huge if you ask me. Furthermore, when you have a campaign War active, it'll change the Battle War ability to the Big War. You can see here the difference between Grimgor's War and Grimgor's Big War. It's basically just more melee attack, 40 on the Big War. So having a campaign War active will increase the gains of Battle War as well. So how do we use these War abilities in battle now? Well, at the top of the screen we've got another new War bar. And to read from the UI, War points are generated for each entity engaged in melee. When enough points are generated, the bar will fill up and the War ability will become available for use. The more friendly units in the battle, the more points required to fill the bar. Each use of the ability also increases the number of points required. So the more units you have engaged in melee, the quicker you'll fill this bar and be able to get your War ability to use. And it is an ability you have to activate yourself. It doesn't just go off when the bar is full, you'll have it there to use it when you want it, and then the bar will start to fill again. So you'll see here in combat, it's filling up red because a lot of my boys are engaged in melee. For every one entity in melee, 1 point is generated every second until that bar is full. Once it's ready, I'll have a button at the side of the screen so I can use it whenever I wish. Basically the same as before, it's just not tied to a lord now. In this case, I'm going to activate the ability as soon as the bar is full, get those buffs for all my units, and the bar will start to fill again for all the melee fighting we're still doing. So it really rewards you for getting stuck into melee, crumping some gits, and doing some fighting. And once you've used it, it will take a longer time to fill the bar up again, so you're probably only going to get 2 or 3 wars per battle if you're lucky, but that will very often be enough. Personally, I find this a great improvement to the War ability in battle, because before it relied a lot on using the charge, and if you were already in combat and you had a War to use, all it would do would increase your melee attack and you wouldn't get much use out of the speed or charge bonus boost unless a unit happened to be charging. So much better now, just increases damage output all round. Now let's take a look at some of the new campaign exclusive units that you'll be getting in your Wars. Beginning with Armoured Squig Hoppers, who very much do what they say on the quite literal tin. Very much just your normal squig hoppers with some armor on, making them much tougher and helping them survive, meaning they can be much more effective at being a squig hopper. And then we've got Lava Spider Riders. These crispy chaps, basically the same as Archer Spider Riders, but they have fire attacks in both melee and at range, and have increased armor piercing in both of those areas too. So extra damage output from these, a bit of fire damage, especially useful against those with fire weaknesses, of course. And then we have the Super Squig, who, well, it's probably just easier if I show you. That's right, it's basically a bloated corpse in squig form. There's not a lot else to say here other than it's ridiculously fun. Speaking of ridiculously fun, those are not words you would use to describe the feral Hydra, as he is a nasty creature. He is pretty much just your regular old Hydra with fiery breath attacks and the usefulness of fear and terror. If you really want to bring some fear and terror to the battlefield though, you'll bring the Lava Arachnarok Spider. This volcano-themed arachnid is basically the same as a normal Arachnarok, except it has a little more leadership and 2 abilities. One, a direct damage AoE that'll hurt all nearby enemy units, and the second, again, is probably just easier if I show you. It unleashes a barrage of firebolts raining down on all nearby enemies, causing fire damage, pain, and suffering. And lastly, aiding the Greenskins in one of their weaker areas, the Feral Wyvern. This is pretty much just a Manticore type unit, good for helping you control the skies a little bit or pressuring after missiles, being a nice piece of mobility. So there you go, the rework of the Campaign WAGH system and the Battle WAGH ability. Not to mention all the Campaign WAGH units, and those are campaign exclusive units. None of those will be in custom or multiplayer battles with unit caps turned on, nor in quick battles. I hope you've enjoyed this, thanks for watching, I will see you in the future.